So my first impression when I met my host family, when I walked into my house, I remember my advisor was with me, just bringing me to, presenting me to my family, and my host mom was there. I remember walking in and she was kind of just pretty chill. She brought us all water. She just invited me in. She showed me my room and things like that, where I would be staying. And then later we went to go pick up my little sisters from school, and they were also kind of shy and kind of timid. So they were talking to me, and I was trying to speak to them in French, and then they weren't responding to me. So I was like, okay, I guess I don't speak French. But then they kind of opened up to me, and my family turned out to be the most warm and welcoming family for me, and actually felt like a family. So at first I was kind of a little nervous, but it was really easy for me to settle in and just feel right at home. So my family structure while I was in Diourbel, Senegal, I had my host mom with me, her husband, so my host dad. I had 3 younger sisters. One of them is 15 years old, one is 7 years old, and one's 11 years old. So my sisters would go to school every day while I went to work, and my host mom would stay home. Sometimes she would work some days of the week. My host dad worked as well, and then we also had 2 maids at our house. So my host house in Diourbel was actually really big, definitely bigger than houses that I've had in the U.S. We had a kind of entryway, a huge living room. Everything was really open and spacious because in Senegal it's super hot, so they just let air flow in through windows and doors. We had a kitchen. We had an outside kind of back patio area where they would sometimes cook outdoors on hotter days, or do other cleaning and laundry things. My parents had their own room. We also had a second living room, and then my 3 sisters and I shared one bedroom and shared a bathroom. I think my favorite, I'll say my 2 favorite things about living with my host family. Number 1 was how much French I got to speak while I was there, and also Wolof. When you're living in an environment where you can't speak your native tongue, so for me that would be English, you're forced to learn so much. So I got to learn more French that was not so much out of the textbook, but actual speaking to real people French, and it was a lot of fun to just play with my sisters and learn French that way, and just have fun with it instead of being in school where I'm taking tests. I think just the amount of warmth that my family greeted me with and everyone in my community was it's amazing. It's amazing that you can just jump into a family that you've never met before, literally on the other side of the world, and feel right at home. My Senegalese family, I still consider them my family, a second family, but they're family to me. I totally intend to go back and visit them, and they're awesome. I love them. I would say my least favorite thing about living with the host family was, again, lack of alone time, but sometimes I felt there was a lack of space for me to just express myself in ways that would sometimes be offensive. So if I said to my family, I just want to be alone, they would probably take offense to that and say, why don't you want to spend time with us? Or, what's wrong? Or something like that. So sometimes I just wish that I had more people around me that I could speak to in person and express those feelings, versus journaling or talking to friends online, which is, they're good outlets, but sometimes I wish I had had someone in person to share that with. So my relationship with my host family was literally just being a part of the family. On an average day, I would wake up in the morning, get ready for work at the internship I was doing. My sisters and my mom and I would all drive and drop each other off at school and my work and then my mom's work. I would do my internship every day from 9-ish to 3-ish, come home in between that for lunches to have with the entire family, go back to work, and then at the end of the day I would just come back home and just do homework, write papers, do some other work, sometimes Skype with friends, but other than that I was just with my family all the time. So I was completely engaged in everything they were doing, and I was also there. I went to parties with them. When they invited people over, I was also there, and they've always included me and said, this is my daughter, here she is, she's from the United States, things like that. So there was really no disconnect between my sisters of the family and then me as someone who just jumped in. I would say that the biggest skill that I learned from living with a host family was patience. I consider myself a pretty patient person anyways, but being in Senegal, again, for me as an introvert, sometimes I just it's frustrating to be with people all the time when you just want to take some time for yourself and reflect or just calm down or things like that. Sometimes when my sisters would be just playing with me all the time, I was it's 10 o'clock at night, I'm tired, I just want to go to bed. Obviously there's things like cultural and linguistic barriers that are frustrating at times. But something that one of my advisors in Senegal told me at one point, she was kind of making fun of me because she was Americans think that time is money, but here we say time is people. So I think patience is something that I worked a lot on. and grew a lot in while I was in Senegal. Just patience, like it's okay to be 5 minutes late to something, or even 2 hours sometimes. It's okay to spend a couple extra minutes with someone that may not be your favorite person, because they're also a person. They matter. So I'd say patience is the biggest takeaway for me. Yeah, if I could go back and do it all again, I would absolutely 10 out of 10 choose to stay with the host family again, specifically my host family. They could not have been more perfect for me. Maybe that's just me, but they were super welcoming. I loved having siblings, so that when you go to another country or place, you can learn and be in a school, but I think that living with a family gives me more perspective on what daily life looks like for Senegalese people, versus maybe if I had stayed in my own apartment or something, I would have missed out on a lot of those meal times, like how to cook, how my sisters did their homework, the work schedules of my parents and things like that. So I would absolutely do it all over again.